Hello crafty friends, it's Jess from jesscrafts.com. I hope this video finds you well. I'm going to be featuring a Slimline card today. This was actually the first Slimline card I made. This card is 8.5 inches long by 3.5 inches wide. To create that though, you're going to need an 8.5 by 7 piece and fold it in half. The little card panel that I'm working on that will go on the card base is 8.25 by 3.25. So I am starting by taking my dark yellow, which in this case is Fossilized Amber. I'm using Fossilized Amber, Mustard Seed, and Carved Pumpkin Distress Oxide inks. You could use a lot of different inks, whatever you like to blend with. And I'm starting by creating a big circle for the sun, and I'm using the Distress ink round blenders to create that. And then I'm just applying a lot of color to create my background. So I have first the yellow, the lighter yellow, and then I am going to go to the outside where the orange and then blend those two colors together with the sort of mid-tone, which in this case is the darker yellow, the mustard seed, the fossilized amber. And then I'm going to go back and reinforce the sun, the round image with the fossilized amber. I'm going to reinforce that so it's really dark and prominent. Then I'm going to dry everything because I want to move on to the ground. And to create the ground, I'm just going to move my piece of Post-it note tape. So I just put a big long strip, and that was able to cover the ground. But then it won't cover the sky completely, but it will cover it enough that I can do my ink blending. Later on, I'll use an extra piece of scrap paper to cover it completely to do some ink dots or ink spraying, I guess you call it. Anyway, the nice thing is the Post-it note tape is also holding my paper or my card panel to this paper that I'm working on, this scrap paper. To create the ground, I'm looking to create some like dry dirt, but I think this would work really well for sand. And I'm using antique linen and tea dye distress inks. Again, I am blending with a lot of ink. The blender brushes that are out there, and I have some, are beautiful or great for creating those like really soft blends. But when you really want like a heavy dark color and lots of ink, I actually kind of prefer the foam blenders. And here you can kind of see the circles of the foam blenders as I get started, but as you add more and more ink, it really does blend well together. So now I have the color of my dirt there, but I do want to add some sort of texture to it so it looks like there's like darker like dirt clods or something of that effect. If you're doing sand, again, like there's those darker specks of sand on the beach. So I am using Perfect Pearl Mist in Perfect Copper, and I'm covering up the rest of my sky with another piece of scrap paper, and then I'm going to put it in a sort of ink spray box. It's really just an old Amazon box that I cut apart so that I could spray without getting the glitter and everything all over the desk and all the color. I'll also sort of tap that dry a bit, and then my background is complete. I will, quickly run over it with my heat gun to make sure I'm not going to spread everything about, but I really want to make sure that it's completely dry before I start trying to tape on or glue on any of my critters, because if it's still wet, they're just going to stick to the ink and not to the paper itself. They could fall off later. So it's important to make sure your background is completely dry, and leaving it off to the side for a while certainly works. So I'm going to stamp the big thanks in some Versamark ink and white heat emboss it so that it really stands out. I picked the black so that it didn't add any extra colors. I am trying to keep the color palette quite simple. So I used gray for the rhinos, of course, but the birds, if you look up the birds that sit on the rhino's back and take the bugs away for them, they actually are gray and yellow. And I thought, well, then that doesn't add any colors to the background, so that'll be great because I already have gray and then I have the yellow in the background, so they won't stand out. The birds themselves don't look that much like the birds that are in the savannah, but I just thought the color worked out. So that's why I chose to color them realistically, even though they aren't drawn very realistically. They're very cartoon, and it's adorable. I love this stamp set. In fact, if you are interested in this stamp set, it is currently on sale as of 4/12/2020 at scrapbook.com for $9.99, which is a pretty good price for the stamp set. So, but you could obviously, I'm mostly trying to focus on the technique today and how to create that background. And you could do that with so many other, you could do beach animals or a beach scene and, many, many other African animals. Like if you had the, I think it's Critters in the Jungle from Lawn Fawn, I think that would work out really well too. So I'm using a little bit of, I'm trying to pop up my rhinos. I'm not using foam tape, but you certainly could. I'm just using layers of scrap cardstock, doubled up and then taped to the back so that because I'm cheap and don't want to buy foam tape if I don't need to. It's a way of just using up my scraps. All of the images I fussy cut out with scissors, and then I traced around them with my Memento TUXEDO black pen so that it looks a little bit more well done than it is, because sometimes when you fussy cut with scissors, you get little white bits from the edge, and so that black really kind of makes it finished. And I also put Elizabeth Craft's tape, which is just like a 2-way tape. There's many other ones out there. Just put some 2-way tape or stick it adhesive, anything like that, behind it so that when I fussy cut them, they already had some adhesive. So I added the heart there in the corner to make the sentiment stand out a bit, and that has the pink. I have 2 pink flowers as well, and I'm going to create a visual triangle with that heart and the 2 flowers to draw your attention. I'm also placing both rhinos right there at the sun because that lighter color is going to, it's going to draw your eye in, and draw your attention there to that main part of the scene. Even though it's this big slimline card, it's nice and long, and there's going to be some things kind of going off to the left of the rhinos, your attention's still going to be there at the center with them, and then a little bit over at the sentiment. So I created, again, a little visual triangle with the clouds there. So there's 2 on this side and 1 on the other. In general, placing things in odd numbers looks great. So I have an odd number of clouds, and I will have an odd number of rocks placed down eventually as well. When I fussy cut out the birds, they lost their legs. I'm not going to fussy cut those legs. I just chopped them right off. And then when I decided where I wanted to place the birds, I stamped the bird image on top and was able to then take the colored image and place it on top of that stamped image so that the legs are back. Another option would be to simply draw legs in for them. Or you could just place them down where you can't see their legs, which is kind of what I do on the back of the rhino. I place them directly onto it, and so you won't be able to see his legs. I wanted to add a little touch of detail to the girl rhino, so I put the flower in her hair, and as you see, there's the pink heart and the 2 pink flowers, and they, again, create that visual triangle, that odd number. I have an odd number of birds, using all that over and over again. And I took a thin black marker and I just added 2 little eyelashes to her eye. For the texture on the rhinos, I did color these with cool gray Copics. I just did little tiny dots of my darker gray markers in the shadow areas to add a bit of texture, just the lightest touch. For the butterfly, same thing, stamp it down in order to put the antenna back. So there I added that final rock. Oh, you know what? I did do 4 rocks. Well, there goes my rule of thirds. I have 3 things of grass and an odd number with 1 butterfly. So I broke my own rule. Well, not my rule, but I broke the rule sometimes and use it other times. But it's just something if you're kind of feeling like, why does this look different? See if maybe making an odd grouping helps. Anyway, I stamped a little bit on the inside of the card just because with this slimline card, it's a little bit bigger. And so I wanted a little bit to have something going on in the center of the card so that if I didn't have a super long message, it still looked full. So I took my carved pumpkin Distress Oxide ink, which I'd used at the beginning, to kind of, again, keep things matchy-matchy, not add too many colors, and I stamped some images from the stamp set, the rhino and a couple birds, and that's going to be it for my card today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in more crafting tutorials, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I will leave you links to all the products that I used in the video description below. And for those of you who are watching this as it comes out, I know that a lot of people are having a tough time right now, and I just hope this card would bring just a little bit of positivity out there, and I hope this finds you well. And thank you to all the people who are out there doing their jobs to keep the rest of us safe. Have a good one. Bye.